Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what tools I take with me and keep around my workstation for if I do tech stuff, or if I'm at a game and I have to do tech stuff on my gun or a friend's gun or somebody else's gun, just to try to help them get through the rest of the day and help them be able to have fun with Airsoft. So, first thing I have is my gun mat. It's the brand. It's got 4 magnets up here. You guys have probably seen this in a couple of my videos because it's what I use when I do my tech stuff. It's got 2 strips up here on the top, 2 on the side, a big one in the middle, 1 here. This one's, I use this one too. There's a medium-sized one right here. But this is nice because it keeps your workstation clean, because you don't want to be getting dirt and grease and oil all over your desk or whatever you're using. So this is nice because you keep everything on here. I've had approximately 2 parts or 2 guns with parts on here because there's enough space up here. I really only use 2 of these magnets per gun, so I can have used all 4 for 2 guns. And you can just divide each slot up to each gun's parts. Now when it comes to working in the middle with it, you kind of just have to get used to what you're doing with it so you can align stuff and stuff's not messing with each other. I like using this because it just keeps everything organized, keeps everything clean. I know some of my friends that are getting into tech stuff actually have gotten these because I've recommended it to them and they said they love it, and it's just all around something good that they like to use. Now the next thing I have is these Air Tech Studios clips. Let's see how well you guys can see these. So this one is for the trigger, and this one is for the anti-reversal latch. Now what these do is they go, let me grab my gearbox. Oops. So this is where the anti-reversal latch goes. There's currently not one in here, but this will do this like this. This is the anti-reversal latch one. It will stick in the side of here and hold the anti-reversal latch down. So when you open it, it doesn't pop out. So I use this one a ton. I have actually never used the trigger one because some companies, the way they manufacture where the trigger goes, the trigger will actually take up the entire spot. So there's not enough room to get this around the trigger for it actually to go in. But these are actually super nice, and I'm pretty sure they're only $10, $12. That seems like a lot for a piece of plastic, but these can be super useful because you don't know how many times when I started getting into teching that I would take a gearbox apart and my anti-reversal latch from the gun that I'm working on would actually end up being shot out of the gun because it's always on tension from its spring, so it gets shot out a lot. I've lost multiple of them, and it helps keep them in when you're putting it back together too, because that's when, if you're taking it apart, it'll shoot out, but when you're putting it back together, it won't stay in place. And if you're trying to hold the trigger down, hold tap plate down, and hold the anti-reversal latch down, you're using one hand, and you have to try to mangle your other hand to put on the other shell to merge the two shells together, but that doesn't work because your hand's in the way. So this just makes it super nice. Next one is a Tecton 30-piece hex key set. So this one is actually metric and standard. Put this back in here real fast. Now I like this because when you come to doing teching stuff, you're not going to use that many hex keys or Allen wrenches. And it just becomes nice when you have to have them and you have them on hand. Now I've used this a couple times because I've had to use these really small ones over here for my SSP front sight because that Allen key is super small. And so that makes it really nice to have on hand because you can use any of these. If you're trying to put your spring guide back on, I have my biggest Allen key that I have before I got this is the only one that would fit in here. Now I have an assortment of ones that'll fit in here, and this is metric. It's kind of a star shape, but it's actually metric. So that's what I use on there. But if you guys want to get this, I'll link all of this stuff I have, not the tools in this box unless I can find them, in the description. I will link my mat, this, and these in the description for you guys. So that is my Allen keys. And now in here, this is the box I take with me everywhere. It's kind of beat up and old. It's from Cabela's. It's an old tackle box. But in here, I have a guide of what the gearbox is. This has gearbox hop-up and motor. Hop-up, motor. Just so you can like get a feel for what it is. So if I'm like taking somebody's gun apart and they don't know how, I will show them and walk them through how to do it with this guide, and they can look at it as I'm doing it. Now this guide is a front wire guide. You can see the wires coming out here, but front wired and rear wired M4 gearboxes are the exact same. It's just the way there's a little bit more room for the wire to go out to the front instead of out the back, but you can route both in, because mine are rear wired, but I could route a front wired gearbox or a front wired trigger unit out. So that's this. Now in here I just have Phillips head screwdriver. This is long enough to stick in my buffer tube to unscrew the screw that holds the buffer tube on. I have a pair of needle nose because you never know when you might need some. A bigger pair of pliers in case you ever need these. Some of this other stuff in here is just miscellaneous stuff that I keep with me, like an extra set of iron sights if somebody needs a pair of iron sights to use for the game. Okay, so I have some electrical tape. This is very useful. You can wrap it around wires or hold something down if you need to. This is a set of metric Allen wrenches or Allen keys. And then this is a standard set. So I have both in case I don't have my big set of all of them together. I have these at least. Now over here I have a ton of shims because I do a lot of shimming on guns. Most of my guns and my friends' guns are already shimmed, but you never know when you might need shims because they can be useful. I've used them for my pistol. You probably didn't think I was ever going to use M4 shims on a pistol, but I did. And then down here I have some T-plug or Dean's to Tamiya. Down here I have like 2 or 3 of those. Iron sight, some extra dust covers. Now up here I have oil. So I have Crossman Pelgun oil. I have Evike silicone oil. And then an extra Pelgun oil. And then I have some Loctite because you always want to use Loctite on any of your screws in your gearbox because that'll just help them from the vibration actually stay on. Now up here I have a tiny Phillips head screwdriver to get some of the tiny screws. Tiny flathead screwdriver because this can be used for prying the gearbox apart or anything. An assortment of Allen keys. Now the only other 2 parts I have, or screwdrivers I have in here, is, can't see which one this is, but I have a tiny little like star tipped one. I use this on the mag release on Crytac and SEMA guns because these are, for some reason they decided to take the mag release and not use Phillips head screws and use star screws. This one's a bigger one in case there is a bigger screw, because sometimes I've had ones with bigger screws on them. And then I have some sandpaper in here in case you have to sand down where the motor grip or the motor goes through the motor grip into the gearbox, because that hole can get a little tight sometimes and the motor shaft won't go through. And so that's what the sandpaper's for. I have there's some fuse covers, got some fuses in there. But that's about it for all of my tools that I have and that I keep with me. Now, if I know that I'm going to somebody's house or a field where I'm going to be needing to do tech stuff, I'll make sure that I take extra tech stuff, like extra parts. I normally keep my shims with me because I've done this for a while, so I can basically take a gun apart with this tiny screwdriver, this big Phillips head screwdriver down here, and a flathead screwdriver, and that's it. That's all I need to take a gun apart, unless it's a SEMA, and then I'll have to use this tiny one. But once you get good enough, you can learn how like everything works, and you can work your way around stuff sometimes to take it apart. But if I'm going somewhere to do work, like I said, I will probably take like an extra piston or piston head or just something, because you never know when you might need something for their gun, and worst case they can just buy it from you if you're not going to charge them, but you never know what type of parts you're going to be doing. But thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. I've got a couple more cool videos coming out later on in this month once my parts come and everything, but those are going to be some good informational videos. But like I said, make sure you guys like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.